employees right now are saying, to do my hour commute to say downtown Toronto, if I can do a 5 or 10 minute drive to my office in the suburbs, they certainly prefer that right now.
For the first time in Canadian history, the suburban office vacancies have been at a lower rate than downtown vacancy rates for 2 quarters in a row.
In fact, 7 of 10 of the major markets across Canada, we saw the tightening of suburban vacancy.
Michael Case, head of CBRE's downtown Toronto office leasing team, says downtown office demand in Montreal and especially Toronto is still outpacing nearby suburbs, as they typically do. However, for most of the rest of Canada, the suburbs appear to be winning out.
Where we're really seeing it is in Western Canada. And I think, the Calgarys and the Vancouvers, we're starting to see a lot of tech users lease space in the suburbs, particularly, again, in Western Canada. But that convenience factor is really driving it. It's that hybrid work.
Companies are starting to realize that, having a permanently remote workforce is not ideal. And so coming up with these hybrid solutions, working some days in the office, working remotely other days, you're starting to see as becoming a bigger trend. And therefore, it's not surprising that companies would try to rent office space closer to where people live.
Sean Mullen is with the Brookfield Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Toronto Metropolitan University. He says it's too early to know where the trend will go, but says this is unlikely to be the death of downtowns. He also adds it's not a bad thing to have people living close to where they work.
Commuting is not necessarily a great thing for anybody. It imposes a cost on workers. It imposes a cost on the infrastructure, and I do think it's something that could be a positive evolution for suburban municipalities. And if they built it into their planning and were able to say, okay, how can we accommodate this type of growth? There does seem to be an opportunity that is not just completely transient here.
The pros of working downtown, what do you like about it?
The energy, to be honest. Greater feel of how the company's doing.
Probably being around, your teammates.
A really good pro of working in a suburban area.
Yeah, so in a suburban area, I would say the pro would be you just have more green space out there.
Where, downtown you're up about an hour earlier and
less distractions. You get a lot more of the administrative type things done.
Meanwhile, Case says Toronto's post-pandemic office market is actually an improvement. He says pre-pandemic, the vacancy rate was around 2%, describing that as a landlord's market. He says the sweet spot is usually around 8 to 12%. Downtown Toronto is currently sitting at 11.9%. For City News, I'm David Zura.